We are back in our regular digs for like a week and a half, I think, right? Back at the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. I'm Catherine Nero, alongside, of course, Jeremy Schran, the Marketing and Communications Director for the Northern Kentucky Chamber, bringing you all the great stuff happening in Northern Kentucky. First of all, before we go any further, we want to remind you to subscribe. So the second these podcasts come out, you will know, you will get that notification, and we'll be able to listen on that hopefully short drive home. We want to thank our title sponsor, CVG, our studio sponsor, the Elenin Federal Credit Union, and we have a cast of thousands today, Jeremy.
Yes, it's going to be a big show. Everyone's going to tune into this one. We've got the great Carri Chandler, Vice President of St. Elizabeth Foundation, and the person behind raising all that money for that giant new building they're building, and Dr. Doug Flora, who's the Executive Medical Director at the Youth Cancer Center, so that's going to be awesome. And then Carrie's going to stick around and join us for the Weekend Review. And then we also have Rudy Harris from Harris Media, and he's got a new documentary out called Like Harvey, Like Son. It's getting a lot of acclaim. They've headed to a bunch of film festivals, so we're going to hear about that. And then also a bonus segment, we have Colleen Elridge, and she is from Be More Consulting, and she's going to be the speaker for the morning general speaker at the Women's Initiative Summit, which is next Wednesday?
Next
Tuesday.
Sold out, if I'm not mistaken.
It's very close to selling out. I think we might have had like 10 spots left earlier today.
There you go, so hop on it. There is a lot going on, and so we're going to get started with the St. Elizabeth Cancer Center, and if you've been over there on the campus, you've seen the progress, and it is massive. This cancer center to be opened up here very shortly. So let's talk with Carri Chandler, of course, Vice President of the St. Elizabeth Foundation, and Dr. Doug Flora, the Executive Medical Director, about what's going on. So let's kick things off with you. I'm told to call you Dr. Doug, so I'm gonna. Dr. Doug, tell us what's new with this cancer center, why it was needed, and why you're so excited about it.
Well, it's obviously a fun product for all of us to put together, but it started a couple years ago when we went out to our community and asked what the greatest needs were. And our own community, including all the educators and legislators and the people in the community, said that we really needed to address cancer as one of our greatest scourges attacking our people. And so our board and our CEO and their team put together a package to build a world-class cancer center in our backyard, and it's been pretty fun to pull it together.
So we know that like the lung cancer rates are like kind of the worst in the country in Kentucky. So what are you doing specifically to address lung cancer?
Yeah, that's our big goal. From all of the cancers, lung cancer deaths outrank the next 6 cancers combined in Kentucky. We're probably looking at about 4,500 people just in the Commonwealth per year. That's 12 or 13 per day. So what we've done together is to try and build a multidisciplinary team looking at using current technology to find them in the earliest possible stages rather than chasing cancers when they're already out of the barn. So we're approaching this month our 10,000th lung cancer screening CT, which we think is in the top 1 to 2 to maybe top 3 in the country now in terms of numbers of people scanned.
This kind of center, though, doesn't just get built without some money, and that is where Carri comes in. And this has been a huge push for you since coming to St. Elizabeth several years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was with Toyota for 18 years, and about 2.5 years ago came over to St. Elizabeth to lead the foundation. This is a $140 million project. And it was approved by our board of trustees if the foundation could come up with at least $25 million of that. So about a year ago in August, we at the groundbreaking, we announced a $35 million campaign. And in the 14 months since then, we've raised about $29 million.
And one really, really big check, too.
Yes, one really big one. But you all understand our community, and you know what an incredibly generous community this is and how blessed we are to live in this region. But yes, we had a very big check and a very big announcement last week. We announced the largest gift in the foundation's 30-year history. It was a $5 million gift from doTERRA International. They are a global essential oil company based in Salt Lake City. So not only were we able to raise this money, but this is actually money coming in from out of state. Being invested in the Commonwealth, so that's exciting as well. And they are funding the Center for Integrative Oncology. And so Doug can tell you a little bit about what all that is.
Yeah. So what does this?
So this is a step forward for us. We're really good at the science, and people who know what cancer doctors do we're really up on the journals and the chemo and radiation and kind of that slash and poison and burn, and we don't like that part of our jobs either. So this lets us approach our patients in a more holistic fashion. We're really looking at whole person care here. So you can use aroma touch or massage or medical meditation and sanctuary and prayer and things like that to try and help alleviate some of the suffering and improve the quality of life of the patients that we're caring for.
Yeah, we were actually talking about it this morning in another committee meeting, and I had a few people that hadn't heard, and they were like, "Oh, doTERRA, I use their essential oils and stuff." So it was kind of interesting. It's a big name, and
it's a premium. Yeah, it's the premium of the oils for sure.
In addition to all of the big announcements coming as well, genetic screening. That's one of those elements of all of this. That's you mentioned. Finding cancers earlier. That's one of those things that's going to help in this, and that's been a focus for St. Elizabeth as well.
Right, we're investing heavily in technology, staffing, and really paying attention to trying to find the earliest footprints of cancer, and that is usually at the molecular level, long before you'd see it on a CAT scan or a PET scan or an MRI. And so now 100% of the women who come into our center with risks for breast cancer are getting genetic testing preemptively to let them make better choices about screening and prevention. We're doing 100% of people that we reach with ovarian cancer and advanced prostate cancer as well as an automatic, which is several years ahead of the standard of care, I think. And we're finding people who never would have been screened before.
And what's interesting is, I know you're a cancer survivor, right?
That's right.
I am as well, treated at St. Elizabeth, and I was over there a couple of weeks ago, and what they explained was, when I got tested, 7 years ago, they tested for 2 things. Now it's like 62 things out of the same cheek swab or something. So that tells you and just shows you how much science has advanced in just these 7 years. It's amazing.
So, Carri, recently the foundation launched a community campaign. Can you give us a little bit more information about that?
So, as evidenced by the 29 million, we've been, pretty much going after major gifts, and now we want to turn the focus, to our community. So last month it was our 40th annual golf party, which is our biggest event. It's kind of like our gala, more or less. So it's like 5 flights of golf on 4 courses. We have a very generous community partner in Central Bank who have matched all the community's donations up to $1 million. So that's a real exciting part of our community campaign. So every dollar contributed up to $50,000 by a business or an individual will be matched. And essentially, the whole community campaign, we just want to further engage our friends and neighbors and encourage them to invest in their health and the health of our community. Because things that you put dollars toward, you tend to pay attention to.
When you pay attention.
Yes, exactly. And so that's the whole idea behind it.
And so when can we expect the Cancer Center to open?
Hoping for late September.
Late September,
Yep.
not bad. Excellent.
Soon. All right, well, you don't get to leave yet until we ask our question of the month, which is, what is your, since it's manufacturing month at the Chamber, that's why that's where this question kind of comes from. So what is your favorite product that is made in Northern Kentucky? You can also say Kentucky. It doesn't necessarily have to be Northern Kentucky, but we like Northern Kentucky.
For me, my favorite product that's made in Northern Kentucky, or made in Kentucky, I would say the Toyota Camry.
Oh, that's a good answer.
This is the first time we've had Camry as an answer too. Yes.
She makes me feel like such a much worse person.
That's okay.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
Mine is Braxton Cream Ale.
Yeah.
I like
Also
their beer.
very popular.
That's favorite. That's a favorite over here. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we're good.
Understood. Thank you guys so much. Best of luck on the upcoming opening. We'll have to be out there for that.
Thank you for
next
having
year.
us.
Absolutely. And stay with us. We've got more coming. You're right, Carri's sticking around. We're going to talk about voting and all the other big headlines. Here's a hint, blink, coming up just ahead.
Sometimes life is hectic. Choosing a mortgage lender shouldn't be. The Elenin 5-5 Mortgage offers competitive rates, no PMI, and up to 100% financing. That's a mortgage that comes with peace of mind. Whether you're purchasing a new home or refinancing, you'll feel right at home with Elenin. We're local, trusted, and we'll be here for you even after your closing. Call 800-292-2905 and get started on your 5-5 mortgage. Elenin Federal Credit Union. Welcome home.
Welcome back to Northern Kentucky Spotlight, and as always, right now we take a look at the headlines in Northern Kentucky, and in fact, maybe the biggest headline in Northern Kentucky happened right here, at least started right here in this building, and that was the push announced by the Chamber just a few days ago to get people out to vote on November 5th. And this is a cause I know near and dear to Brent Cooper's heart, as well as so many others.
It should be a cause. It should be near and dear to
Absolutely.
everyone's heart.
As the daughter of a
Agreed.
civics teacher, absolutely, yes, we should all be voting. But the issue is, and where this all started was the fact that our three counties, and Campbell County really is a little bit better than Boone and Kenton, but Boone and Kenton counties were just abysmal as far as turnout, voter turnout in 2018. 107th and 108th out of 120 counties. Considering how populated these two counties are, that is staggering. And so the whole idea is this is a nonpartisan effort. Vote for who you want, just vote for somebody. Get out to the polls or vote early, wherever you are, whatever you can do, get out there and do
And
it.
if you want to get to know the candidates, especially like for governor and for a few of the other state roles, we put out a little document that kind of gives a rundown of each one of the candidates, all three parties that are running in each race. You can check out our Facebook page, our Twitter, and it's even on our webpage too, so you can get that and learn about the candidates so you can be informed.
And
Just make a
also,
decision.
mark your calendar for October 29th, that's a Tuesday, when the Chamber will be hosting the gubernatorial debate at NKU. So they're coming here to Northern Kentucky, and this is important, and we need to show that this area is formidable as far as voter turnout, or they won't keep coming. And that's the problem. That's the issue that's been had. Now, Carri, you're sticking around for this because I know that a big deal to you and for years has been kids voting Northern Kentucky. Tell us what that is.
Yeah, well, so for the past 20 years, I've been involved with Kids Voting Northern Kentucky. And it's a great way for parents to involve their kids and help voting become a habit. So if I look back to how I learned about voting and became, the voter that I am today, it was actually going to the polls with my mom and dad, and just watching, demystifying the whole process and saying, okay, stand in line here, I cast my ballot here, and it just becomes a habit, and it's something that you do, and it's your civic duty. And so that's the whole point behind Kids Voting Northern Kentucky. So if I could encourage everyone who's listening, parents, bring your kids to the polls and educate your kids on the process. This is completely a nonpartisan push. I don't care who you vote for. Just get out and get to the polls and vote. Northern Kentucky's collective voice really deserves to be heard.
And what's cool about when the kids get out and vote is, yes, they'll vote on the big ticket items, but then they'll have like a cool question, like,
a couple cool questions.
should you teach cursive in school, or whatever it might
Right,
be, something
yeah.
relevant and interesting to
Absolutely,
them too.
absolutely.
My kids always enjoy it, so yes. November 5th, mark it down. Mark it down. All right,
Absolutely.
thank you, Carri. I know a lot of us enjoyed Blink this last
Yes, I was
weekend.
there.
I think
Carri,
everyone.
did you go down?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Danced with my family under that disco ball.
Yeah,
That was the best part. I
awesome.
did love the disco ball.
Oh, it was awesome.
C4 did a very nice job there hosting the world's largest disco ball. 1.5, that's the estimate anyway, 1.25 to 1.5 million people came out to Blink. And, some people say, it was awesome, it was great. Others, it was a little chaotic. If you got stuck on the bridge, I totally get it. But the bottom line is, this was, according to all of the folks behind Blink, the biggest event ever for our region.
Ever.
Bigger than World Series, World
Yeah.
Fire Games, all of that, bigger.
I've
Yep.
never seen so many people in Covington in one time.
Even, I went on Thursday night, and that, of the four, I would imagine is the lowest number of folks
I
were
don't know,
out there.
people were
it
trying
was-
to sneak in and see
it
it
was
before
perfect.
everybody
It was
else.
perfect. But yeah, it was incredible to see. And what I always like to say is there were so many, 45 art installations and 39 image mapping projections and all of that. But the coolest part is there are 16 new murals that will stay. And that's like the enduring legacy of Blink. So if you haven't seen them, they're out and about from Covington all the way up to over the Rhine. So check them out there. And next week we're going to be talking a little bit more about Blink.
Yeah, Spotted Yeti's going to be in to talk about their project that was on the side of
It
the
was
Freedom Center.
very popular. Saw
Yeah.
a lot of people talking
Yep.
about that one. We got to talk bourbon if we're going to talk
Always.
Northern Kentucky, right? So New Riff made a big announcement this week that's doubling in size. So it's adding a new rick house on Lowell Street in Newport. This is that kind of theme where everybody builds the second location, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be filled. They say 18,000 more barrels by the end of 2020.
Yeah, they're making it too fast. They gotta have some
amazing.
place to put it to age it. And this story came out of our Eggs and Issues program on Tuesday. So if you're missing chamber events, you're missing
You're
the
missing the
news.
headlines.
Ken was on the panel and he just stood up and said, "Oh yeah, we're getting ready to build a new rick house." And we
like,
had a
"Pardon me
reporter in the
now?"
audience,
Yeah.
and they ran up and interviewed him right after.
Perfect.
So if you're attending those chamber events, you can you can be on the
Make
forefront of
headlines,
all
exactly.
the news. Let's see here. Children's Home, they got a state contract for family preservation. So I'm going to let you explain this one.
Yeah, so basically it's a program that was at the Children's Home and then wasn't for a long time because it wasn't funded, but now the state has embarked on putting out these grants again. What it'll do, the whole goal is to reduce child abuse and neglect, keep kids out of the foster system, or at least reduce the number. And it's basically just going to work with those families who are in crisis and just help them with parenting skills and how to help their family function a little bit better. Just giving them a little extra money, but a little extra help in getting the message out.
And a new airline might be coming to CVG, maybe.
Yeah, this
it was an interesting kind
This is the way I like the headline as like, oh, new airline. Let me read this. Here's what happened. So Erlacher's like, so Nair's the construction company involved in this, and the developer anyway. So they wanted this little bitty sliver of land. They own that Showcase Cinema site.
Yep.
So they're hoping by allocating this little tiny piece of land that Atlas Airlines will come in. It's another lower cost airline, so it might help the bottom line for the rest of us. So we shall see if this all happens.
Maybe it'll happen. Maybe it won't. Also, NKU is ranked number 2 in the Horizon preseason, and this is awesome. And we've got our own NKU All-Star on our team now.
Yeah, I was
Drew
going to say
McDonald.
it's going to be tough for NKU to follow up Drew McDonald.
Yeah, and next week we have Pints that we're hosting at the BB&T Arena, where you get to come in and meet the new coach.
Perfect.
So when they make it to the tournament again
You
this
can
year,
say you were there at the
"Hey, I met the
beginning."
coach.
And we got a lot of stuff coming up next week as well with the Chamber.
Yes. One thing that's going to be coming up, it's not until March, but we're opening up, we have a call for speakers for the Best Practices Symposium. And if you think you want to talk about your company's best practices, or you have something good to share, this is a really cool event. It's not stand up and talk to a bunch of people. It's a round tables, and you get to move around to all these different round tables, and you get to do like kind of a little small group discussion. So it's a little bit different event. But if you think you want to speak at that, all you have to do is go to nkychamber.com/best practices, and you can fill out the little form there. Like I said, we've got a lot of events coming up next week. On the 22nd is that Women's Initiative Regional Summit. The 24th, we have International Trade and Affairs. They're talking about the foreign trade zones. That's at lunchtime. And then Pints of Perspectives that night on the
Busy
24th.
time.
Yes, always.
And of course, all of those, all that information is on the Chamber's website under events as well. All right, stick around. We've got more coming your way. We're going to talk about a documentary produced right here in Northern Kentucky. We'll talk with Harris Media and Road ID coming your way next. Stay with us. CVG Airport is the lowest fare airport in the tri-state region with 54 nonstop flights and direct international service to 7 destinations, including Paris, France, and now home to both DHL's and Amazon's global cargo hubs. The airport is furthering its position as leader in aviation and is deeply committed to being an economic driver for the community. You can learn more and start your next adventure at cvgairport.com. Welcome back to Northern Kentucky Spotlight. As promised, we're going to start talking about a documentary. We usually don't get so highbrow here on Northern Kentucky Spotlight, but this time is different. We're joined by our guests, Rudy Harris of Harris Media and Mike Trimpe from Road ID, who worked together on this documentary, Like Harvey, Like Son. So, Rudy, let's start with you. Tell us the story of Like Harvey, Like Son.
Well, then you wouldn't come see it. No.
Yes, absolutely.
Synopsis is Harvey Lewis, who is a ultra runner here based in Cincinnati. He actually is a high school teacher at the Creative and Performing Arts School. He's kind of crazy. So last year,
yes.
yeah, everybody kind of knows Harvey in the running community. But he actually ran the Appalachian Trail last year, all 2,190 miles. He was trying to set a record.
That's a lot of miles.
It's a lot of miles. He, again, reiterating he's crazy. And we found out while we were producing a video with Road ID about Harvey and about the product and all this sort of stuff, we found out that he was going to do it. So we said, let's go make a documentary about it.
You say he's crazy. I saw him one time running to the airport from his house with his luggage.
That's what he does.
Like legit and he runs to school every day, right? It's amazing. And so let's talk about Road ID's involvement in this. Mike, how did you guys get involved and why?
I met Rudy a couple years ago. We were looking for a media partner to tell the Road ID story. And Rudy and I hit it off, had a similar sense of humor. We like to have a lot of fun with the brand. And so we made the story, and it went great. So the next thing was a commercial about a runner who wanted to escape everything and kind of get lost in the woods. And that runner ended up being Harvey. So it was the 3 of us and Rudy's crew out on the mountainside in Red River Gorge, and that came out great. And we were like, man, we got to do something even bigger than this. What can we do next? And that was when Harvey told us he was planning to run the Appalachian Trail, and hopefully break the record.
And so this story kind of took a turn, though. It's not a running story really anymore. It became something else.
Right, yeah. So on the very first night, which with his run got delayed by a day for a tropical storm, and then he ran actually through the tropical storm anyways. They thought, whatever, doesn't matter. At the very end of the day, after he ran, 52 was the first day, right? 52 miles, I believe he ran the first day, which is obviously 2 marathons.
50 more miles than I ran that day.
You ran 2, man.
That's impressive, yeah.
I take a nap.
52 more than I did.
But so at the very end, his father, who was his crew chief, so his 78-year-old father, came along for the journey. His name is also Harvey. He's Harvey Jr. Harvey Lewis, we all know, is Harvey the third, and there is a fourth, yes. But they were sitting by the van as Harvey Jr. was feeding his son, who just ran 52 miles, and they were talking about just life and not really too much about the trail. And I set up a shot, and I pulled Mike over, and I showed him the shot, and he's like, man, that looks great. And I was like, this is the documentary. These two dudes are very interesting. They have a different lifestyle. We got to follow this story. So then we sort of throughout the entire journey focused heavily on the running, obviously, but the running became a vehicle to learn about a father-son tale.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you've been taking it around to a bunch of film festivals. How many film festivals have you been to?
Been to or in are different. We are selections in 12 thus far.
Wow.
We have won 4 awards. And we've been, different people have been to different ones, but altogether 4. We actually leave tomorrow for the Twin Cities Film Festival.
Nice.
Which is probably the last one we're going to actually go to. But so yeah, we've won 4 awards, including Best Director, the Best Director Award, that's the words, in the Aspen Mountain Film Festival, which was awesome. There was an ESPN film there. There was an HBO documentary there. So we were we said we were David in a room full of Goliaths. It was awesome. So that was cool.
Really cool.
So what's next for the film?
Well, I just talked to Mike like 3 seconds ago about this. So we, what's next is we are in distribution talks with 2 different distributors. One would be a theater run with one of the big 3 cinema circuits. So it'll likely come back to Cincinnati again.
Awesome.
So
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing. That's fantastic.
So, since we are the chamber, we would like to know what your businesses are about. And it sounds like you guys used Rudy to tell your story. What's Road ID do? What's Rudy do? What's Harris Media do?
So Road ID is a father-son founded company, 1999, bootstrapped from the ground up, just right up the street here off Grandview Drive. And it started when founder Edward Wimmer was training for a marathon, and he almost got clobbered by a truck, ended up in a ditch. And his dad had warned him, you probably need some kind of ID. And it dismissed him at that time. And then he was like, man, Dad is right. So they started engraving these IDs and selling them out of their basement, just right up here on Dixie Highway. And I joined pretty early on, the mid-2000s, and we've seen it grow since then. So we make a wrist ID as our main product. We laser engrave it, has your emergency contacts, medical history, by the way, are we on camera right now?
Yes, we are in some form or fashion. Yes.
I would have at least shaved.
You happen to at least have that road ID.
It's okay. We're audio first though, because when it's on the podcast, you can't see us. So
I look like I just came off the side of a mountain. But anyway, so we never thought that we would save so many lives or impact so many lives, and now we hear stories every day from people who say, "I lost my kid at Disney World, and we were reunited because of this thing," to "I'm alive today because of it." Wow. So it's a pretty powerful place to work. It makes you feel good about getting up in the morning.
Wow. And Rudy, for you, it just so happens that St. Elizabeth, who was on here just before, is another one of your clients. All those awesome commercials we see from them are because of you.
Not most of them. I won't take credit for all of them. I'm not going to be I'm an honest guy. So at Harris Media, what we do is we breathe life into imagination, fueled by our love for people and powered by our technical mastery of film production. So we love telling stories, whether it be a brand story, a product story, or with like Harvey Like Son, just a father-son story with some corporate sponsorship. But we partnered on it. It was fun. We didn't need it to be super, heavy Road ID, but there are some little moments of Road ID for sure along the way. So that's what we love to do. And yeah, St. Elizabeth is a big client of ours. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff you see around town on billboards or on commercials. If you ever watch Hulu and Dr. Doug Flora pops in and says
Every
hello,
night, I'm telling you, as
that
I'm
was our
binge
team.
watching.
Yep, he's on
Yeah.
there a lot, so
And
that was our team.
That awesome thing you did of the beam signing. Of
Yeah, the
can-
beam
that
signing.
that was really cool.
And we also just made a video, another one, not to bring up Road ID again, but why not? They're here and they're friends and they're
They're
clients.
friends, exactly.
And chamber members.
We did a pet ID product video
Yes,
with a
yes.
man dressed as a dog
That
doing
was
dog things.
So funny. So
It's pretty funny. It was pretty
Yeah.
interesting. So.
Excellent
Awesome.
work. All right,
So,
we'll have to look
and you
for
don't
these.
get to get out of here without telling me what your favorite Northern Kentucky or Kentucky product is. I mean, you can you got a gimme right there with your product.
Yeah, I think it was a layup, so I won't take the easy route. I think after the Road ID would be the Libby's Southern Comfort Food.
Nice.
Their bourbon slush. And if you get it
Oh,
extra
yeah.
boozy, it makes
Of
it just
course.
perfect
Of
texture and
course.
taste.
That's
Can't
where
go
I went
wrong.
for my birthday lunch.
Very nice.
So I would say Road ID, specifically, obviously, whatever. But number 2 for me is out down in Ludlow, their Second Sight Spirits
Yep.
and their rum. Me and my wife love their rum, their dark rum, their barrel rum. It's super good. So
There's a definite imbibability to the products that people like from Kentucky. There's no
Wow.
problem with that. We're all for it.
When in Rome.
As I
use
like
the
to say, we
Romans.
need to do a
When
little
in
field
Kentucky,
research.
drink bourbon.
Yes, field research. Thank you guys so much for coming. We appreciate it. And we've got a bonus guest, I say. Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes.
We have a quick commercial break first, or are we going straight
Yeah,
to
we're going to do a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Did you know the Northern Kentucky Chamber can help celebrate your business's grand opening, reopening, or new location with a ribbon cutting? To take advantage of this member benefit, contact the Chamber at 859-578-8800 and ask for Lynn Ablin.
And welcome back to Northern Kentucky Spotlight. Once again, we've got a little bonus guest. This is great, though. You want to talk about ending on top? We are talking right now with Colleen L Rich from Be More Consulting. You're the Regional Summit Morning General Session speaker for the Women's Initiative big event coming up, right?
Yes, I'm so excited about it.
So tell us about your topic. What are we
Yeah.
going to be talking about?
So we're talking about being the CEO of YOU. And so for me, it's really important that women learn that they have a lot more control over their own lives and the outcomes. It's really about learning to be intentional with it.
So how'd you come up with this topic?
So I've been a coach for about 6 years now, and I work a lot with women, and I started to see these trends over and over and over again on the ways that women kind of stop themselves from reaching that next level. And so it really became, what can I teach women? How can I apply it to something that they maybe already comprehend to give them a tool to use in order to improve their lives?
So you get a woman that says, I can't be the CEO of my own life. What do you tell them? How do you get
You
them to
100% can, right?
Yeah.
I always say you are not a tree, you are not stuck, right? Whatever decision you made that got you where you're at, you can make a totally different decision to get you somewhere else. It is about making those decisions, giving yourself permission to make those decisions. That's huge for women. I don't know if you struggle with that sometimes.
Oh,
but
yeah.
It's just like,
'Cause you think of
could
other
I
people
do
first.
this? Yeah.
Other people first,
Should I
I should
do this? And it's like, you can do whatever you want to do. Like, you literally can do whatever you want to do. You just have to make that choice.
Awesome.
How is this, like when you give this speech, when you tell people this, how is it received?
People sometimes cry because I share a lot of my personal story when it comes to how I've gotten from where I was to where I'm at. And then some people really get inspired. I'm really big about giving people tangible tools that they can use. So at the very end, we identify one change that we want to make moving forward. That way you're not just leaving feeling inspired. It's like, what are you going to do with that inspiration, right?
A focused
Yeah,
inspiration.
absolutely.
Yes.
Very cool. So what got you involved with the Women's Initiative and actually speaking at the summit? How did you get in?
Yeah, so a friend of mine spoke at the summit, I think 2 years ago, and said it was an amazing experience, and she said, you should check into it. And so I applied for it and sent a video in and then joined the Northern Kentucky Chamber, and so it's been a great experience so far.
Well, we're
Excellent.
very excited to have you and glad you could become a chamber member as well.
Absolutely. And so you've got one more question, right? The big question?
Yeah, I've got the big question. We don't want to give too much of your speech away when people
Okay.
come next week.
Yes,
That's right.
Yes,
That's right.
I think there's 10 tickets left? About 10 tickets? 14 tickets?
14.
14.
Counting down. Who
I mean-
knows how many we just sold?
Yeah, so listen, if you're
If you're
listening
Brent,
now.
if you're Brent, there's 0 left.
You have to pay
If you're
extra.
Gina, there's 20 left. So somewhere in between. there.
Yes.
All right, so what is your favorite product that is made in Northern Kentucky or Kentucky?
Yeah, I heard all those other great answers. My favorite Kentucky product, though, is Crank and Boom ice cream.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
explain.
It is
I'm
in
very
Lexington.
excited.
It's in Lexington, and they have amazing ice cream. But they do this small batch Friday every Friday, and so sometimes it's like the caramel delight, like cookie, the Girl Scout
Look at the way
cookie.
she's talking about this. Like,
Ice
I
cream
want
is
to
my love
drive
language, y'all. Like,
to
that's
Lexington
my love
right
language
now.
of ice cream.
Have you had graters? Have you
Yes,
tried
oh yeah, I love
Okay,
graters.
good,
I
good.
love graters, yeah.
Yeah,
But that's my favorite Kentucky
Okay.
product is Crank and Boom.
Awesome.
Again,
Now-
field research.
Yes.
Well, Colleen, best of luck next week.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear it. And thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. And thank you guys as well for joining us each and every week here on Northern Kentucky Spotlight. Once again, if you haven't, subscribed so that you know the next time the next podcast comes up. Speaking of which, who do we have next week?
Next week, we have Abby staff from Viability. They are an office supply partner with the Chamber, so if you are a Chamber member, you can use their office supplies and it can save you a bunch of money. But they also have a purpose behind it.
Nice.
They work with the Cincinnati Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and so that'll be interesting to kind of hear about that. And then earlier I mentioned that Spotted Yeti would be in to talk about their Blink project. It's actually going to be Molly who owns the company.
It'll be nice though to talk about Blink now in retrospect, like
Right,
what worked
yeah.
and
Yeah.
what you can learn
Yep,
from
and,
it.
and kind of learning their creative process
Yeah,
and how they came
absolutely.
up with their concepts. I saw they had a tweet out today where they showed some of the icons that they were using in it, like some of the different buildings that they had in their display. So
We'll look
it should be
forward to that.
very, very interesting.
And as always, thanks to our title sponsor, CVG, our studio sponsor, the Elenin Federal Credit Union, and to all of our guests today, Carri Chandler, Dr. Doug Flora, Rudy Harris. We also had Mike Trimpe from Road ID, of course, Colleen L Rich from D-Moore Consulting. And I'm Catherine Nero. You are Jeremy Schrand. We thank you for joining us each and every week.
Yep. And Ben Gass,
And Ben
right?
is hiding behind a monitor today. That's why I forgot you, Ben. I'll never forget that right there. All right, so Ben's here. Thank you, Ben, for being the brains behind the operation, and we'll see you next week.